So today's the day. We had our first chicken egg. And whether you're a newbie or you're a veteran, waiting on that first egg is exciting and excruciating. You feed them and you feed them and you wait months and you love them and you feed them some more, all waiting for that first egg. So here's the day. We came out earlier and we saw that we finally had our first egg. Come see. And you'll see 3, but one of them is the real one. And we'll talk about the ceramic eggs that are in here a little later in the video. So here's 3 ways to tell when your chickens are about to start laying eggs.
Number 1, age. Mark your calendar when you get your baby chicks, because in 18 to 20 weeks, most breeds hit that maturity where they're ready to start laying eggs. So when you come back to that 17 to 18 week mark, it's time to make those nesting boxes available because your hens are going to be ready to lay. So when you pick your chicks, you really have to make that decision of why you're picking a specific breed. Are you wanting a colorful, pretty, something to showcase, or are you looking for something that's going to be in production? Or maybe you're looking for something that can handle a little bit of both. We actually wanted something that was available to our backyard and was going to be in that mid-range production of 200 to 300 eggs per year, depending on the breed. And we'll cover that in a minute. By the way, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that now. Leave a comment on maybe some other content and some items that you would like us to cover in the future. So in the past, we've been in more of a production model. We had a lot of tractors out on the pasture. We were really trying to get as much egg production on pasture-based farming as we could. We were ordering a lot of chicks from different hatcheries around the nation, whether it be Ideal Poultry in Texas, Murray McMurray in Iowa, or Myers Hatchery there in Ohio. And the great thing about those, you get online, you find the breed that you want, you order, they send it right to your door through the post office. Now, if you really want to make your post office mad, you let them travel around with a bunch of screaming chicks all day in their car. Ours let us know they were not very happy. So from that point on, we went to the post office first thing in the morning to pick up those chicks when they arrived. Lesson learned the hard way. Don't do that to your postmaster. So this time we weren't so interested in production, as we were just looking to provide the eggs for our family of 4. So we didn't need to order from a big hatchery and get a big shipment of birds in. We were able to go to our local Tractor Supply and Sutherland's during chick days and just pick up the breeds that we wanted. Now, we found out what breeds they had. We did our research so that we just didn't buy what they had available. We really wanted to suit those birds for what we needed them to be. And it keeps you away from doing that impulse buy of buying twice the birds that you actually need, because you can do that.
So one of the breeds we chose was an ISA Brown, and they lay around 300 eggs per year. So the other breed we chose was a Colombian Wyandotte, and they lay 200 to 250 eggs per year. So we were looking for chickens that were going to be docile and friendly, heat tolerant, and also ones that don't go broody, because broody chickens are no fun. Broody means that they want to hatch those eggs that they've laid, so they will sit on them for the majority of the day. And not only that, when you go to take their eggs, they get very, very upset. They get loud, but they also will try to peck you. So both of these breeds that we chose are not broody, and they're very friendly and very fun, and they do well in our South Texas heat.
So number 2 is the comb and the wattles. As you can see with this noisy girl, her comb and her wattles are nice, deep red and crimson, and that shows a level of maturity and that she's going to be ready to lay eggs. As you can see from this young lady, she doesn't have a pronounced comb, and her wattles are still very small and pink, not crimson red. And she has not quite hit the age where she's ready to produce eggs yet. So number 3, the squat. So when the hens hit a certain age, they let the rooster know that they are willing to accept his pickup lines. And the way they do that is by showing a submissive squat when he approaches. And you can often get your hens that are ready to lay to do that squat. And the way they do, they spread their wings and they get low to the ground to protect their underbelly. And that lets the rooster know that that hen is ready to lay eggs and she's fertile. So here are some tips and tricks. Up until now, you should have had your birds on a grower starter feed that should be about 18%. Now they're hitting that 18 weeks. It's time to move them over to a layer pellet or a layer crumble, and you want to back that down to a 16%, but ensure that there's a little bit of calcium in that feed so that your birds lay good, strong, healthy eggs with hard shells on them. So during the winter months, you'll notice your production may be starting to slow down a little bit. That's normal. The days are shorter, the birds are spending more energy trying to stay warm rather than putting that energy towards producing eggs. There are a couple ways that you can increase production by adding heat lamps or lights, artificial lights in their coop, and that'll continue the production. We tend to not like to do that because we like a longer production period from the bird itself over about 2.5 years, rather than maxing that production out over 1.5 to 2 years and then having to cycle through your birds if you're looking more into the production side of things. There are a few breeds that don't do well in summer. Here in South Texas, we found that there are a couple breeds that don't do really well in extreme heat. During the summer months, when we have 100-degree days, we notice their production levels starting to wean off as well. It's very important to do your research for your location and find out what in your geographic region, what birds produce well and are tolerant to your specific weather patterns there. And you might be asking yourself, how do I get my laying hen that hasn't ever laid an egg to lay an egg in the right place? Well, this is why we're in the tips and tricks section, because there are some tips and tricks on how to get that bird to lay in the correct spot. First would be to add ceramic eggs to the area of the nesting box that you want that bird to lay. Second, and probably most importantly, is don't let that bird have access to that area until they are about 17 to 18 weeks old, because before that, birds like to explore and they like to leave their special deposit of fertilizer behind everywhere they go. And you don't want them to use that nesting box as a roost or as a potty, because then when they start to lay eggs and other hens start to lay in that same nesting box, you're going to get some nasty eggs that you're not going to really find too appetizing. So if you're going to be using a nesting box like this to where you're going to be adding it in the coop or in the run itself, don't add it until they're about 17 to 18 weeks old. If you have a nesting box that's built into your coop, block that off to where the birds don't have access to it again until they're 17 to 18 weeks old.
So here's a bonus for you, and it's about egg care. The first and best way to keep your eggs clean is to keep a clean nesting box. You want them to be healthy and you to be healthy, and we have a video all about coop maintenance and how to keep it clean and healthy, and you can find that here. Once you have your nesting box clean, your eggs should be fairly clean most of the time, but things do happen, whether they get mud on their feet or, they do poop in there or something like that, then you don't want to wash your eggs because there's already a naturally protective barrier on it, and it's called the bloom. So instead of washing them like under running water, you just want to get a damp paper towel or a cloth, anything like that, and you just want to spot treat it because you don't want to take all of that protective bloom off, but you do want to get them clean. And then once you do that, you can just put them in your carton and put the pointy part down, and they can stay unrefrigerated for 3 to 5 weeks. My recommendation is to keep them 2 weeks, and if you don't use them by 2 weeks, go ahead and put them in the fridge. So also in the beginning with new chickens, their first eggs, you'll get a couple of wonky ones. I don't have the really wonky ones. They actually came out with only the membrane. There was no shell, and so they're very, very soft, so you can't even keep those. I actually just threw it to the dog. But you might also get ones that are tiny, weird shape. Can you see that one? There's a weird one, and then tiny ones. These are all first eggs, and they are all just fine. And it is up to you whether you want to eat them or not. So don't be surprised if you go out there and there's a wonky egg. It's all part of them, their bodies learning how to lay eggs. So thanks for watching. Let us know what is the #1 thing that you learned from this video and put it in the comments below.
And if you have any questions, go ahead and leave those in the comments below and we'll make sure we can answer as best we can. Thanks.